Hello guys, and today we're gonna rank up all the ADCs to see which one is the best. Okay, so we'll go in no specific order, and I'm gonna give you my opinion based also on the recent nerfs and buffs about ADCs. Let's just get started. Aphelios. So Aphelios is quite a strong champ. I like it. The problem is that he is really easy to pick off, and there are some champions which are quite good against him. I think Jinx is not really into the meta, and also that's also the reason of why Aphelios is not in the meta, let's say. I also think that he is not... I mean, based on where you play, Aphelios gets way more value. Let's say the higher you are, and the more people understand how truly strong the champion is, and also who plays it. So, it's really hard to give him, how can I say, like a vote, because the champion really relies on, based on where you're playing. If you're playing in low elo, it will be D tier. If you're playing in S tier, it will be S, let's say. So, just to have a compromise, I will put it in the B tier, if you understand this. So, because, you know, if you're playing it in Diamond, you could be good. In Challenger, it's probably really broken. And instead, in Silver, it's really bad because people don't play around it. But in the end, it's not even the truth. Because if you play in low elo, Aphelios always has the time to scale. And he is one of the best ADC scaling late game. So even if you die 10 times, let's say, you manage to get to your, like, 6 items. And you should be able to one-shot. So that's why I put it in the B tier. Okay, so here we are with Ashe. I always thought that Ashe is still one of the best champions, but not really in terms of solo queue, okay? I will put it in the A tier. So, the point of Ashe is that you always have prio, and you have the Outshot, which is the best spell ever made, probably, for an ADC. You're able to spot the enemy jungler, and it's buffing at minute 2. That's something that no one has, by the way. And with specific champions, with specific drafts, that just breaks the game right away, because you're able to spot instantaneously what's the pathing of the top laner, of the bot laner, and then from there, you just have to not troll the game, let's say. The problem of Ashe, in my opinion, is that she's not S tier just because, as a carry by itself, she's not that strong to be able to win a game. Not in low elo, and not even in high elo. So the champion is really based on how your team plays, and because of that, I can put it in the S tier, but for everything else, so early prio, how to play, easy to play, and everything, let's say, that we can think about an ADC, is probably one of the best right now. Caitlyn. So Caitlyn lost a lot of points. The reason being that I feel like she's not that strong as a lane ballier anymore. Right? I think that there are champions which are fairly better at balling the lane. Just an example, we have the famous Lucian Nami. Okay, now I'm not gonna place it now, but the famous Lucian Nami is such a strong comp that deals so much burst damage in little time, and Caitlyn doesn't have time to do his proper, like, poke, okay? And there's also another champion which is fairly better at poking, which is Varus, and also the newcomer, which is Senna, kind of, okay? She also has sustain in her kit. Caitlyn doesn't really have that. So I will probably put it in the B tier. I think Ashe is quite... superior, like slightly superior to Caitlyn right now, just because of his ultimate control, especially in the Egilo, while probably it will be the opposite if Caitlyn, you know, we're playing Caitlyn in low elo against the Ashe. Okay, so we're picking Draven. I mean, Draven, from my personal experience, it's a really strong champion. He always has prio in basically every matchup, and the only thing that can make him lose, it's literally his support matchup. The only way a Draven can lose for now is simply picking an APC, I guess. Something like Cassiopeia, Ziggs. Those champions are really hard to deal with because they are low range and you need to go on their range. But they also have a lot of way of spacing. Or, for example, Cassiopeia, if you go straight to her, you just die. Those champions are not relatively meta, and all the other ADCs don't really have an answer to Draven. So we could easily put it in the S tier, honestly. I always thought that a good Draven player, especially in solo queue, has no way of getting countered, if not, again, range and supports like Zyra and such. But that is not on the ADC to decide that. If you first pick Draven, I feel like there's no actual counter to it yet. So now we go for the Ezreal. Ezreal is my favorite champion, and I mean, at least in this patch. And I feel like that he is one of the best ADCs for solo queue, okay? He is really hard to play, but holy, if you manage to learn Ezreal, it's probably one of the best champions in the game. Why is it so? Because you have your E, which is your Node Arcane Shift, which makes you basically unpickable. And in a meta where they play Pantheon, they play Twisted Fate, they play Dexin Zhao, it's so nice to have so much space to play, 300 dashes. I just reached a gem with this pick, and it was so easy. It was like a butter cake. I did 400 games, won 58% of my games with Ezreal, just by playing him, literally spamming in every matchup, every lane. Even if I had bad matchups, I could get back to the game, because, you know, the champion just scales at the second item, and then comes back for no reason. And so, playing for topside was also way better. I had more winning topside. I was losing bot, but with a good mental, and with really good mechanics, you managed to go up in no problem. So that's why Ezreal goes in the S tier, in my opinion. But let me know, guys, what you think in the comments, and hopefully people don't blame me, because, you know, playing Ezreal in low elo is not the same as playing in Aig. So S tier is probably unjustified for the low elo, but again, if you're able to learn him properly, this champion is a beast. So now we go to the Jhin, and Jhin is a really nice champ. I always loved Jhin as a champion, like, not as a champion. I kinda hate him. I know people will be like, oh wait, what? You hate Jhin? How the fuck? No way, right? And instead, I never liked Jhin as a champion design, at least. And the thing that I hate the most is that I like a lot of champions that can hit and have a lot of, like, fast pace, APM. Jhin has only 4 shots, and the only good thing about Jhin, the only thing that I like about Jhin is the W. I mean, it just feels so satisfying when you hit that W, right? It's not even about playing the champion or one-shotting someone. It's literally only knowing that you hit the W that makes you win the game, right? Which is what I love about the champ. So we're always talking about utility, but I can't put it that high. Reason being that, again, League of Legends, and especially bot side, is based on how you get prio and when you can get it. Jhin is really bad at taking prio right now. Like, he can actually do it, but not as strongly as some other champions, right? For example, Ezreal is really bad at taking prio, but Ashe is really strong at doing it, right? So, you don't have prio in the early game, and when you go under tower as Jhin, it's really hard to farm, though. It's not like any other champion where if you get pushed, then you're actually able to farm. You're not able to farm, you're not able to help your supports, you're not able to help your jungler. So, if you play Jhin on a weak side environment, the champion is completely useless. And for that reason, I place him on the B tier, just under the Ashe, because I feel like Ashe, again, has always that thing in a bit more, let's say. But anyway, really good champion, and if you manage to reach the 2 free items and then you get those W picks, champion is really strong. Okay, so now we go to Jinx. I am a Jinx main myself. I was, at least when I first started playing in Season 7. I just cannot understand why people keep playing her. I am really sad myself. I would love to play Jinx more. And I don't understand, guys. I don't understand how is it possible that people say that Jinx is S tier. I don't know how this happens. There's no way in hell that Jinx is a good champion right now. And I'll show you why. So I just made a matchup label, you see? And this matchup label is how many wins and lose, like, matchups this like Jinx has, right? And as we can see, there are, like, out of, like, most of the ADCs, there are 5 winning matchups only, like 5, 6 even, and then 8 bad ones, okay? So only for the laning phase, this champion is completely terrible. You do get the prio, but if you push it or you force it, 95% of the time you lose it, and you don't even scale like you used to. Like, there's no points on playing Jinx, in my opinion, right now, and she's absolutely not S tier, unless you're playing it in low elo or something like that. I saw so many games in Grandmasters where people were picking Jinx, and enemy team went just Pantheon TF, the guy was 20-0, card, stun, and the guy is dead. There's no way around it. So, even if you peel him in the best, and such, and everything you want, it's not worth the investment. Why would you put 20 kills on an ADC that just dies in 3 shots, when you can put it on a bruiser or anything else and just win the game? So, yeah, Jinx, because of that, for me, personally, just goes even under the Aphelios, because Aphelios scales. I'm not sure about Jinx, though. It's just my personal opinion again, guys. Don't take it personally. I am main of the champion, and I played it so much, it just feels really bad. So now we go for the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is really nice, because you are able to play both AD and the AP version at the same time. I think the AD version is not really suitable for the champion. Like, I like to play Kai'Sa with more range, right? So when you play her AP, you're able to just W and play more like an assassin, which I think that it's her kit, let's say. I just like to have the idea that Kai'Sa is an assassin and she's really good at 1v1s. While I think that the AD build is not really an assassin one, it's more of a DPS one, where you play front to back. There are many other champions that play way better in the AD form. So for example, again, if you play Aphelios full AD, it will be fairly stronger than Kai'Sa. She has more mobility, of course, but in terms of damage, Aphelios just wins, Draven just wins, and I could tell so many more. So again, because Kai'Sa has really low range and a AD version is not that good, we're not gonna really think about the AD version. You still have that chance, let's say, that opportunity, but what makes her truly strong is her AP, like her AP form, which makes her able to play as an assassin and pretty much counters most of the ADCs when they decide to play. No, like for example Senna. If you think about Senna, she's really squishy. Then Kai'Sa just WW ult, and then you're just dead. So many champions can get countered out of that. But the laning phase of Kai'Sa is not even that special, I will say. So again, nothing insane. I will put Kai'Sa just because, again, she has a bad lane and the AD form isn't quite the best on the B tier again. She is still really good occasionally and she has some really good matchups. But again, I wouldn't really mind playing her first pick unless you're really sure that you want to play her AP. Because if you want to play her AD, there are so many better options. Now we go with Kalista. Guys, Kalista goes D tier. I don't want any discussion about that. Okay, so Kog goes... I mean, Kog is quite an interesting champion because I feel like he has a lot of damage. Way more damage than what many people think. The problem is, again, the current meta is based on a lot of stuns and the champion is immobile. So the only way of playing Kog is literally to have someone to peel him, like Lulu, Milio, and such. Then the champion becomes kind of a beast. But for solo Q, as we're making a tier list, I have to place it on the C tier just like Jinx. He pretty much has the same problems as Jinx, in a certain way. But the difference is that he has damage, it's really hard to snowball, and he doesn't have a decent crit build. So by playing on it, you need a booster, let's say an enchanter, like Lulu or Milio. If you don't have it, you're just completely useless, and you just explode. Lucian. So again, keep in mind that when I talk about Lucian, I'm talking about Lucian Milio, Lucian Nami. I'm talking about pairs instead of Lucian only. Lucian goes on the S tier, and there's nothing to talk about that. The problem is that Lucian has already a really high burst, okay? So he is able to win the lane almost by himself in some matchups. It's really based on your skill, but imagine you're playing against, again, Lucian Nami, Lucian Milio. The pressure that they make just makes you fall back even without doing anything, right? There are so many options in which you can counter Lucian Nami or Lucian Milio, but the problem with solo queue is if they pick Lucian Nami, you're playing with a support that doesn't know you, and you're like, what do we pick to counter Lucian Nami, right? There's not an universal thing to counter Lucian Nami. So many people blind pick Janna, so many people blind pick Sona. What do you do if they pick Lucian Nami and you have a Sona, right? You just lose the game. Since many people are willing to play Nami when people pick Lucian, but not so many people are willing to counter it, Lucian just goes straight on the S tier because his lane prio is insane, his mid game is insane, and he never falls off if you play him crit properly. Okay. So now we go for the MF. MF is, always has been, I think, a really good champ. It doesn't matter when you play it or how you play it or which build you play. The point is his ultimate is really strong. His AD version is insane. His lethality version is a bit weaker right now, but it's always a nice champ. You have prio in the lane. You do win most of the laning phases. It's quite nice. I will put it in the A tier. He pretty much does really well against every champion in the pool. Basically most of them. The only champion that probably can't beat is Draven, but most of the other ADCs, again, he can literally smack them down in the early lane. And then, of course, we have that insane ultimate for the teamfights. So, pretty justified A tier in my opinion. And could be even higher if she managed to get a buff, but we don't want a misfortune meta, right? Samira. So, Samira is really bad, indeed. It's the problem that I feel like that Samira has is that she should be able to dash on her allies. That's what makes her truly strong, because you're able to decide whether or not to go in, right? The problem is when there are champions which play on a specifical way and they can't play in another one, it's really bad. Just an example, right? If you play Nyla and Samira, like, the difference is you want to always go in, and the only way for you to deal damage is to go in. The point of Samira was always that you should be able to deal damage both when you're using your gun and then your sword, right? But what happened through the time is that Samira just became a champion that has to go in, right? If he doesn't go in, he can't do anything. Even just by autoing, you're not even matching the damage of a decent champion. Also because of the Q nerfs and such. They increased the lifesteal, but I feel like that's not the direction that they have to go towards. And the fact that Samir, again, has no way of going out, but has only way of going in, just makes the champion really easy to deal with. And especially based on how much time the champion came out. Like, if the champion came out 5 years ago, then people had 5 years to understand how to play against Samira. So probably the nerfs that she had the first, let's say when she came out, were a bit too much, thinking that the champion was actually released and people didn't know how to counter it well properly. Even if she was strong, of course. Like, I'm not saying that she wasn't. But anyway, because of this, we're gonna go on the C tier. I still think she has some really good matchups, but you got a counter pick. And I like to think that ADC right now is a role where you should first pick always, no matter what, since at least 3-4 years. And you shouldn't really first pick Samir in any case, unless you're red side and they first pick blue side. Okay, so now we go for the Senna, the newcomer. I mean, Senna was always there, but now that they increased the soul ratio, and they actually decreased it as well by a bit. I don't think this makes the champion that weaker. I just want you to understand that. Like, the champion is already strong, and she's still strong. The problem is we don't have a really good counter on the laning phase. She always felt really squishy on the lane, but the main problem is her lifesteal with the Dirk, if you play with Dirk, or in general, the Q lifesteal is already really high. Even if you play with a static form, for example, you missed a lot of push, but if you play Senna with static, you're able to also push the waves. And so there's not really a way to counter a Senna, because back in the time you will just dive her. But if she has static, how do you dive her, right? She just takes the wave, she heals, so you can't kill her with poke, you can't dive her, you just need to pair an Alistar or any champion that pretty much makes her immortal. She reaches a lot of stacks, and then eventually just kills you, okay? So the main idea is that I feel like after the nerf of the souls, the gameplay where she goes static and just waits for her to gather a lot of souls and deal damage is a bit nerfed. And so she has to do a bit more to make it, let's say, viable. Like, you need to deal damage and at least get a kill or two, not just play the 0-0-0 gameplay where you just wait your items and then scale a shit ton and eventually outscale everyone. She's really bad into assassins, and she doesn't really have a really bad lane against no one here in reality right now, if not Draven and Lucian. So I can't really put it in the S tier, but I will put it slightly down. And because, again, Lucian Draven, they do beat Senna by a ton, and Lucian Nami especially, she has a lot of burst compared to the Senna. She's really weak compared to, like, other champs against assassins like Talon and such. It's really easy to die because of that. So I will put it just slightly lower. Oh my god, the Sivir, guys. So Sivir is really strong with the items. I think Yan, PD, Infinity Edge build, so pretty standard crit build, does deal a ton of damage. And she's quite strong into the front to backs. What's the problem of Sivir again? I feel like Sivir is not really good against, for example, again, the Lucian Nami. We just have to watch what I put in the S tier, right? The only champion that she will probably be good against, I mean, it could be the Ashe, for example, because she Ws and you E, and then you have the push, you can just counter match up the push. Maybe MF, she's quite in there. I wouldn't say that she's strong, but I don't think that she doesn't scale. And the main problem, again, stays on the fact that you have to draft it on a specific environment. I wouldn't first pick Sivir, but I will pick her if they go for a front to back, and you have the chance of, like, stacking up those Ws and those Qs, right? I think she's really strong against champions like Kai'Sa, for example, in the lane. So we will probably put it in the V tier, because I feel like, again, depending on how you play here, but I think Sivir is not even that easy to play compared to an MF, for example. MF is way easier. Sivir needs a bit more, because you need to play properly the WQs. You don't have as much mana as you think, because the E change again. You have some like sustain in the lane because of your E, but you miss out a lot of mana. You need to understand how to play her properly, let's say, because if you go Essence River and then you skip the Yan, so you rush Essence River and you skip the Yan, you don't have the Yan, and the Yan is the best crit item at the moment. But if you go Essence River then you have to take Yan late, or you go Infinity Edge second, and you do miss a lot of attack speed till the third item. So again, because of that, I will put it on the B tier, but the matchups are not even that bad. Tristan is really good at 3 items, Yan, Infinity Edge, and Navori. It's one of the best champions in terms of DPS right now, I feel like. She can just spam QWE, QWE, QWE every time, and it's really nice because, again, resets, Navori, all this stuff like that. It's really nice against champions like Sen again. He can assassinate a lot. She's really good at dealing burst damage. She's good against Ezreal. She's good against many champs. And the only bad thing is that, again, some matchups are quite hard, but I will still put it in the A tier. I feel like she beats most of the champions, but again, not the best two, which are, again, Draven and Lucian. They just tend to be really strong if played well, and the Lucian Nami just can do way better than what he should. Twitch. It's not really a champion that I would ever play in my life. But not because I don't like it. I really love Twitch as a playstyle. I like the idea of like getting 3 to 4 items, going AD, and then getting the pick by going invisible. That's what Twitch should be. I feel like the problem of Twitch is, again, always the laning phase. The laning phase is so bad, and Twitch has no real way of like farming consistently. I feel like Twitch always is made as an assassin, and he should just always skip the waves to then kill the enemy. But if you make such playstyle, then you're just falling behind if you don't get the kills, right? So you either need a really good matchup, or you need to have a specific synergy, again, just like Lulu, Milio, all this stuff like that, to then get back to the game and get those kills and eventually win the game. That's what I feel like. So again, if you're not able to consistently farming, or we're talking about hypothetical things, I never think that the champion is that good to be climbed with. Anyway, because I feel grateful and I feel like the champion is for surely better than the C tier category, I feel like, you know, again, Jinx is worse than Twitch, because Twitch is better, deals more damage, goes invisible, first auto is for free, is fairly better. Again, Kog, yeah, he has more range and everything, whatever you want, but Twitch is the better version of Kog in a certain way. Like, it's a stronger, because you can get invisible and then come wherever you want. You have so much more skill expression compared to Kog, I believe. Like, Kog is just I kite, Twitch is I can go invis, I can decide the position, I can play. There's so much more, I believe. So yeah, that is why we put it in the B tier again. Vayne. Oh my god, Vayne, guys. Vayne. So, if you guys don't know, I reached GM by playing 2 champions, which are Ezreal and Vayne. So I managed to get Grandmasters, yeah, that's right, you heard it well, by playing Ezreal and Vayne. I played around, I think, 100 games of Vayne, maybe a bit less, something like that. And I played her always crit with Yantl. This champion deals an insane amount of damage. That's insane. But of course, she is not that good in the current meta, in the reality. Because I feel like there are many champions that do the same work, but way better. Like, for example, I could have played the Trist, which gets more range the later you go on. You know, like the passive is insanely strong and deals around the same damage. Maybe you deal a bit less or slightly more. I'm not even sure. I feel like Vayne deals a bit more, but the difference of Vayne is how much you can 1v1 if you're able to know the limit of the champion. Like, you have the invisibility, which is what makes Vayne insanely strong, and also the impale, which is a mechanic that I feel like has an insane amount of skill expression if you manage to E-flash, go invisible, and just play it properly. But again, I can put it high. I'm just telling you, I climbed up a lot with this champion, because if you have a huge skill expression, you're able to climb up. But I'm probably gonna play it again in the B tier, because many champions on the A and S tier are just fairly superior. And luckily for myself, I don't know why and how, I didn't manage to get any Lucian Nami, Tristana matchups too hard, or like Ashe and Caitlyn. I did manage to blind her mostly and consistently, even if that's like a criminal thing, and just win so many games. Veigar. So, we have the Veigar here, I don't know why, but we're making an ADC tier list, but I just want to mention mages in general, and just to have an idea for yourself. Back when Rod of Ages was strong, I think Veigar was really strong. Then they nerfed it because people were playing Rod of Ages mid with Victor and Ahri. I don't know if you guys remember that. But because of the change, I don't feel like Veigar is as strong as he could be. Okay? Because now you're either forced to play with Luden, and I don't like squishy Veigar. I like the Rod of Ages Veigar that just TPs back to the lane and makes your lane fucking unplayable. So I'm not really a fan of like those mages in general, and I'm gonna place it on the D tier, just because again, I feel like mages on bot are made just to stale the matchup and make your support ROM. If you play Rod of Ages, it's the best thing you can do, because you can't go behind, or if you go behind, then you got the bonus level with Rod of Ages, and if your support perma-roms, you're just getting a lot of soul XP, and what happens is, the enemy ADC is level 12, and out of an hour, if you take Atakan, if you take Rod of Ages, if you take all of that, you manage to reach level 16, and such like that, and the guy is literally level 12, for no reason. That is really unfair. I don't enjoy that. But when Seraph was broken, when Rod of Ages was broken, I feel like mages were insanely strong and no one abused them, luckily. So Xayah is a really good champ again. I like the current crit builds. They are really nice, but they are a bit boring, I guess. You always have to play Yantal, Infinity, and then Navori. But she's really strong on against many champions in reality. And if you saw, many people in pro play are playing her. I started playing her a bit earlier than them, I can proudly say. But it's not hard to understand why. Simply because, again, most of the champions you can see here are like Lucian, are Tristana. You see, what's the pattern here is that most of them are really aggressive. The only champion that is really good against Xayah, for example, here is the Ashe, the Senna, but that's pretty much it. So, if they blind you Tristana or they blind you Lucian, I think Xayah is quite a good pick, because you're always able to avoid those full all-ins. If you play well, again, it's always based on how you play. But same goes for Kai'Sa, same goes for many champions in the meta. Again, Pantheon wants to jump on you, Xin wants to jump on you. So, not only in the lane, but also outside of the lane, many champions just tend to walk at you, especially Mundo topside, if you know what I mean. So, Xayah goes on the A tier, and she's a really consistent pick, but has to be on the counter pick. Don't first pick Xayah, guys, there are so many bad matchups. People think that Xayah is good on blind. That's absolutely not true, okay? Don't do it. Now we go for Zeri. Zeri is really bad. There's no in between. I feel like this champion is really bad. Blah, 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 blah. Goes on the C tier, just like all those 4 champions that never seen the light of the days. Yasuo is not a champion. We don't touch it. And then we go for the Ziggs, okay? So Ziggs, I think Ziggs became an ADC at this point, guys. There's no objection to that. It's been 3 years that this champion is fucking played. And he just goes TP. The point of Ziggs is that it's a really hard matchup to learn, but once you learn it, you're able to at least go even. That's not fun to know, but the problem is, what makes Ziggs truly strong is that you're not able to get dove easily. You can just QE, get base, get the Lost Chapter, TP back to the lane, and you're almost unkillable. That's what makes you really strong and makes it like decent to play, for example, a Ziggs Bard comp, where you just have a Bard that perma-roams the map, and you stay under tower just farming with Ziggs, and you can't touch the fucking tower, aside making, of course, 4 Drakes if your team knows how to do it. But as we reach solo queue, many of those things don't happen, and so what happens is that you're playing against a guy that could be the most boosted player in the world, but just Qs, Ws the wave, and you're like, oh, what do I do now, right? What the fuck do I do? Like, what I'm supposed to do, guys? And the reality here is, you can do anything, okay? So because you can't do anything and he annuls so many matchups, I still think that he's an A tier. It's always really... I flame so much when I see this champ, because I'm like, oh, I can't do anything. This matchup is done, right? Even if I pick Ezreal, it's the same thing. Like, we play from half the map, no one sees each other, and then good luck in mid-game, who has the better team wins, right? So... And he also scales better, I feel like Ziggs scales way better. I just don't enjoy playing him as much. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and it was a clear tier list. I made the best I could, just so that you know it, but of course, some things could be changed, some people could disagree, etc. But that's just a general line. If you watched all the video, you know that this is not a perfect tier list. My tier lists are the type of tier list that just... want you to make you think about what's the current meta and how to deal against that. As we talked about, you know, the laning phases right now and the matchups on bot are becoming a lot of full all-ins potential. And so what counters the full all-in potential, or what is able to stale the game with static or champions like Ziggs, tend to be the kings, you know, of the lane, or even be able to do a decent game. Guys, I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next video. Bye.